I used to believe that attraction was simple, that men wanted beauty, charm, confidence, maybe a certain personality type that fit a familiar script. I studied relationships, observed couples, compared myself in silence, and still something never quite made sense. I watched women who seemed perfect be left. I saw others who didn't fit the obvious standards be deeply valued. I kept asking myself the same question: what do men really look for in a woman? He thought he understood his mind, but what he didn't know was that a resource existed that could help him rebuild his life. You will find it in the description and comments. At that time, I wasn't looking for answers. I was looking for reassurance that I could become someone who would never be replaced. My first instinct was to change the surface. I paid more attention to how I looked, how I spoke, how I presented myself. I learned what was considered attractive, what drew attention, what made people lean in, and for a while, it worked. I received interest, compliments, validation, but it never lasted. The attention faded, the connections felt shallow, and I was left with the same question: why doesn't this feel real? I realized that attraction based on appearance alone is fragile. It ignites quickly, but it does not anchor. It creates interest, not connection, and what I wanted was not to be noticed. I wanted to be chosen in a way that felt stable, intentional, and genuine. The conflict grew when I started noticing patterns in the men I encountered. Some stayed, but the connection felt unbalanced, as if I was constantly trying to maintain something that never quite settled. I asked myself if I was doing something wrong, if I was too much or not enough, if I was failing at some invisible rule of attraction. I began to question not just how men saw me, but how I was presenting myself emotionally. Was I showing who I truly was or who I thought I needed to be in order to be wanted? The breaking point came in a quiet moment after another connection faded without explanation. I wasn't angry. I was tired, tired of performing, tired of shaping myself to fit expectations I didn't fully understand. I asked myself a question I had been avoiding. What if the problem lies in that I'm not enough, but that I'm not being myself? That question was uncomfortable because it meant that attraction wasn't something I could control by perfecting my image. It meant that what men look for might not be a checklist of traits, but something far more psychological. I began to look deeper, beyond surface level advice. And what I discovered surprised me. Men are not primarily drawn to perfection, they are drawn to emotional presence, to a woman who is grounded in herself, to someone who is not trying to be chosen, but who has already chosen herself. Confidence, I realized, is not loud. It is not dominance or detachment. It is emotional stability. It is knowing who you are without needing constant validation. When a woman is emotionally anchored, she does not chase, perform, or over-explain. And that creates something powerful: psychological attraction. I noticed it in the women men truly committed to. And something shifted. The connections that came into my life felt different, slower, more intentional. Less about proving, more about discovering. I felt seen not for how I performed, but for how I existed. And for the first time, I understood that what men truly look for is not perfection, it is emotional clarity. A woman who is emotionally available, but not emotionally dependent. Warm, but not self-sacrificing. Confident, not because she is flawless, but because she knows her worth does not depend on being chosen. Today, I no longer chase attraction. I cultivate presence. I no longer ask how to become irresistible. I ask how to remain authentic. Because real attraction is not built on what you show. It is built on who you are when you are not trying to impress. And if you are wondering what men really seek, the answer may not be something you need to add to yourself. It may be something you need to stop giving away. Your self-respect, your emotional independence, your sense of identity. At the end of my journey, he discovered guidance and a resource that helped him face anxiety and rebuild his life. You can access it too. The link is in the description and comments. Because attraction is not about becoming more. It is about becoming whole. True freedom begins in the mind and only then appears in life. If this story resonated with you, like the video, and subscribe to Love and Mind for more content on emotional psychology, attraction, and healthy relationships.